I think Bitcoin is going to surprise everyone this week with a huge move out of this formation. Later today we might see a huge break. A lot of interesting formations for Bitcoin are unfolding on different timeframes, so I will tell you everything about it in this video. I will also discuss the two altcoins XRP and Solana with you. There's a lot of interesting news coming into the market, so watch this video all the way to the end, like the video, and let's dive right into the charts. In the beginning of the weekend, of course, Bitcoin opened the CME gap around the $59,231. I was expecting that Bitcoin is going to trade around this level during the weekend and that we are not going to see a lot of volatility. During the weekend we saw Bitcoin was grinding up a little bit upwards, but eventually Bitcoin came back to this level and we are now close to the CME gap. So the CME gap is now closed and we can now trade freely during the week. We also can see a little bit of a decline from here, so we're now trading around the $58,500. And let's see what Bitcoin can bring us this week. And for the last couple of days I have been monitoring this huge formation for Bitcoin and that we're going to see a breakout of this 4-hour formation and a huge move is imminent. And we can see on the top side multiple touch points as resistance and also on the downside as support. And currently we are back at the support level after we saw a huge rejection from the higher side resistance yesterday. So the prices of Bitcoin is getting squeezed into this apex, and later today we will see a breakout of this formation, and we are either going to see a break to the top side or a break to the downside, of course. So there are always two scenarios possible. And let me know in the comments what you think, if we are going to see a bullish break or a bearish break for this formation. If you want to trade this formation, you have to wait for a confirmation of the breakout. So you have to wait for a 4-hour candle close outside of this formation, either to the top side or the downside. And from there, you can wait for a retest of the previous resistance to turn it into support. And from there, you can enter the market in the long and aim for higher prices. And of course, if the bearish scenario plays out, you have to wait for a retest of the previous support to turn it into resistance. And then you can aim for lower targets. So for now, I think Bitcoin is going to create a huge move later today. And let's see what is going to happen for Bitcoin, if we're going to see a bullish break or a bearish break. And the breakout target of the bullish break will be the top side of the formation, and that will be around the $67,000, and a bearish break to the downside has a breakout target of $51,000. So let's see if Bitcoin can create a big move today, and if we're going to break out, it will come with a lot of volatility. And on my X channel I reached over 15,000 followers, so I want to thank you a lot. And if you're not following me on X already, please follow me there to be updated about the markets. And if we then have a look on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we can see this huge horizontal level is coming into play. Last week we saw a big rejection from this point and this resistance was a little bit too strong. But in the past we can see multiple touch points as resistance and support. And every time we touch this area we saw a big bounce. And last week we saw a rejection from this point. So let's see if Bitcoin can come back to this resistance, and eventually we want to see a break to the top side, a retest of the resistance to turn it into support and then aim for higher targets. But we can also see that we're in this huge downtrend on the daily time frame, and we can see lower highs and lower lows. So eventually we are in this huge downtrend, and of course we want to see a bullish trend reversal for Bitcoin happening. And currently we made a low, we made a high, and let's see if Bitcoin can create a higher low. And then after the higher low, we want to see a break of this resistance level, of course, and that we are going to create a higher high. And that will indicate a new trend reversal to the top side. And eventually we want to gain this high. So we want to see a higher high after this high. And then we can create more bullish price action to the top side. And of course, this huge resistance on the top side will be the big resistance to break before we can reach all-time highs around the $73,000. And this big resistance is around the $71,000 or $72,000. So first, let's see if Bitcoin can break this resistance this week, and then we can create more bullish scenarios to the top side. And every cycle after the halving, we saw a huge exponential move for Bitcoin. And can history repeat again? In 2012, 2016 and 2020, we saw the same exponential move. We created an all-time high, and after that we saw a huge spike to the top side. In the last movement we can also see we created a high here, and now we can see that we are at equal levels as the previous all-time high. And in every previous cycle we saw after that a huge spike to the top side and a very interesting gain. So let's see if Bitcoin can create the same move to the top side as we did in the previous cycles. And an interesting chart I want to have a look at is the Bitcoin dominance chart. We can see every time the Bitcoin dominance dropped very hard, we saw an alt season unfolding. And this was the last alt season, and that meant that Bitcoin dominance was dropping very hard. We broke below this huge support area. We saw a bear market for this dominance chart, and after that we broke above it. We retested it as support, and now we can see this huge weekly rising wedge formation for the Bitcoin dominance. So of course Bitcoin has been rising and rising against altcoins, but eventually this rising wedge formation is a bearish bias pattern and eventually breaks to the downside more often than to the top side. So if we are going to see a break to the downside and a retest of this previous horizontal support level, then I think we're going to see a new next alt season unfolding, because we then see the Bitcoin dominance is dropping and altcoins can gain more momentum. But for now, we are still in this huge uptrend for Bitcoin. So before we break to the downside, we're still in an uptrend. And that means that Bitcoin is going to be stronger and stronger. And the first interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is XRP. We are now looking at the XRP weekly time frame, and we are in this huge consolidation formation, and this is one of the biggest consolidation formations in crypto ever. We are seeing a 140-week sideways consolidation for XRP unfolding now. We can see multiple touch points on the top side as resistance and also multiple touch points on the downside as support. And yeah, last week we saw a bit of a rejection from the top side resistance, so let's see if XRP can eventually break it to the top side, and the breakout target will be the confluent with the top side of this formation, and it will be around the 92 cents. And we can see multiple touch points here in the past as resistance, so this could also be a very interesting take profit place. And if XRP is going to break bullish and come to this 92 cents area, it's also a very good place to take some profits in, of course. But we can also see, of course, a bear scenario play out. That is something we don't want to think about yet. So eventually the price is getting squeezed into this apex, and we will generate a new volatile big move for XRP. And on the daily time frame, we can see XRP broke out of this huge consolidation phase with this falling wedge formation. We broke out bullish, retested this resistance as support, and now we are seeing a big bounce to the top side again. And if we have a look on the 4-hour time frame, we can see this price is getting squeezed as well into this apex. So eventually later today or maybe in this week, we will see a new move for XRP unfolding, and that move could be a bullish move, of course, or we can see a bearish move. However, a lot of volatility is coming into the market for XRP this week. A lot of people requested to chart Solana, so that's the reason why I'm going to chart Solana, and it's also a very interesting altcoin in the past couple of months. We saw a big run up to the top side, we created a new regional high, and after that we created a little bit of diminishing highs. And we can also see this huge horizontal level coming into play. First it was a resistance level, then we created a support, and every time we touched this level, we saw a big spike to the top side, just like we saw last week. We came back to this horizontal resistance level, we saw a big spike to the top side, but after that we created a lower high, so this is looking a little bit more bearish than bullish. And let's see if Solana can come back to this level, and every time we can come back to this level, it's maybe a very good accumulation zone for the long term. If Solana is coming back to this level, we can maybe see a new bounce, but of course every time we touch a certain level, it's becoming a little bit weaker and weaker, because a lot of liquidity is around this level, and every time we touch it, it's going to get a little bit weaker. So we could also see a bearish break, of course, a retest of the support to turn it into resistance, and then aim for lower targets. But I also think that Solana will having a very good bull run, and that we are eventually going to see new all-time highs for Solana. So this is maybe the place to accumulate more Solana for the long term. So I hope you find this video useful. Give me a follow on my socials, like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.